know, when you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools.
This opening segment captures Senator Kennedy establishing a sharp rhetorical tone by invoking a well-known proverb about arguing with foolish individuals. He suggests that engaging in such arguments diminishes both parties involved, implying that discourse becomes unproductive when one side lacks reason or sincerity. He then directly names several members of Congress: Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley, collectively known as the Squad, and labels them as fools. This characterization is not merely casual criticism. It reflects a broader political stance in which he dismisses their ideological positions as fundamentally flawed.
There are a lot more important issues in front of the United States Congress and the American people than who tweets what to whom. So let me say it one more time. I thought in the president's original tweet, I thought it was a poor choice of words. I think I know what the president meant, and he clarified later and said, look, if you're not happy in America, leave. Just leave, and I agree with that. But his original articulation of that concept, in my opinion, fell short of the mark. Number two, frankly, I don't know why the president felt the need to tweet on this subject at all. You know, when you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools.
In this segment, Senator Kennedy shifts toward discussing a controversial statement made by the president, focusing specifically on its wording and intent. He acknowledges that the original phrasing of the tweet was, in his view, poorly chosen, indicating a degree of independence from blind political alignment. However, he interprets the intended message as a broader expression of dissatisfaction with critics of the country, summarizing it as, if individuals are unhappy in America, they are free to leave. Kennedy's agreement with this interpretation highlights his belief in national pride and personal choice, while also revealing his attempt to balance criticism of tone with support for underlying principles.
They hate America. They think America was wicked in its origins, and it's even more wicked today. They ought to be thanking America instead of calling America evil and wicked and racist. But this is America, and they have the right to their opinion. But I don't like to see the president even dignify their point of view. Besides that, I think that the Squad, as they call themselves, they are destroying the Democratic Party. You know, when your opponent is screwing up, don't interrupt him. Let him go. I mean, just looking at this from a political standpoint, if I didn't know better, I would think the members of the Squad were GOP plants. I mean, they think that illegal immigration, socialism, higher taxes, abortion are all moral goods. They think America, Israel, free enterprise are moral bads. That's not what most Americans believe.
Here, Kennedy revisits and reinforces his earlier argument about engaging with individuals he considers unreasonable. By repeating the proverb, he emphasizes his belief that responding to such figures only legitimizes their viewpoints. He again names the same group of congresswomen and reiterates his characterization of them as fools. This repetition serves a strategic purpose. It strengthens his central message while making it more memorable. Additionally, It reflects a broader communication style often used in political rhetoric, where repetition is used to solidify a narrative and ensure that key points resonate with the audience.
And that's kind of where I am on the subject. The president has explained his position. He has said, look, here's what I meant. If you're not happy living in America, leave. It's a free country, and I agree with that assessment.
If I am not on this committee for one term, my voice will get louder and stronger, and my leadership will be celebrated around the world as it has been.
In this portion, Kennedy moves beyond personal labeling and begins outlining what he perceives as ideological issues. He claims that these lawmakers view America as fundamentally flawed, both in its origins and its present state. Despite his strong disagreement, he acknowledges their constitutional right to express such opinions, referencing the principles of free speech that underpin American democracy. This dual stance, criticizing their views while defending their right to hold them, illustrates a common tension in political discourse, where opposing perspectives are both contested and protected within the same framework.
Today's resolution, as it relates to Representative Omar, details 6 statements she made as a sitting member of Congress that, under the totality of the circumstances, disqualify her from serving on the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
Don't tell me this is about consistency. Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes.
This segment focuses on the broader political implications of the Squad's influence. Kennedy argues that their policies and rhetoric are damaging to the Democratic Party, suggesting that their positions on issues like immigration, taxation, and economic systems are out of step with the majority of Americans. He frames their actions as politically advantageous for Republicans, even joking that they could be mistaken for allies of the opposing party due to the perceived harm they cause. This analysis reflects a strategic perspective, where political opponents are evaluated not only for their beliefs, but also for their impact on electoral dynamics.
And also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened.
The representative can say whatever the heck she wants, but we don't have to accept it or embrace it.
In this brief but significant clip, Ilhan Omar responds with a statement asserting her resilience and growing influence. She expresses confidence that even if she were removed from a specific role or committee, her voice and leadership would continue to strengthen and gain recognition globally. This response highlights her perspective as a public figure who views criticism and opposition as factors that amplify rather than diminish her platform. The tone is assertive and forward-looking, emphasizing endurance and international relevance.
Individuals who hold such hateful views should rightly be barred from that type of committee.
This institution is better because of her leadership, and the Foreign Affairs Committee benefits from her perspective. So let's talk about what's really happening. Republicans are waging a blatantly Islamophobic and racist attack on Congresswoman Omar. And I've said it before, I will say it again. The white supremacy happening is unbelievable. This is despicable.
We're not removing her from other committees. We just do not believe when it comes to foreign affairs, especially the responsibility of that position around the world with the comments that you make. She shouldn't serve there.
Ilhan Omar's role, particularly regarding her position on the Foreign Affairs Committee. One side presents a formal argument outlining statements attributed to her, suggesting that these remarks disqualify her from serving in that capacity. In contrast, defenders argue that the move is inconsistent and politically motivated, pointing to perceived double standards and raising concerns about discrimination, including claims of Islamophobia and racial bias. The discussion reflects deep divisions within Congress, where procedural decisions become symbolic of larger ideological conflicts. The exchange underscores how political disagreements often extend beyond policy into questions of fairness, representation, and institutional integrity.